Good evening. This is talkSPORT, and this is Kickoff this Monday night. And it is Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy, and me, Natalie Sawyer. And we're taking you through until the sports bar. We're going to
just got some hours in.
Yeah. Didn't even invite us, did he? So he's got the bug.
Hey, get off your bomb. Get in there. Get your practice done.
Honestly, it's meant to be my coach, and he's given up on me already. We're going to continue looking back on that game at Stamford Bridge then, which was a fascinating statement, sort of, well, a fascinating game in the sense that it was quite physical, quite intense, and it sort of delivered, didn't it, with everything that we saw. Let's get the full-time thoughts from Mikel Arteta then. This is what he had to say post-match.
Really intense. You could sense from the beginning that every duel, every action has something on it. Two teams very willing to win, and not much football. It was a lot of restarts, a lot of free kicks, stops, a lot of yellow cards, so not a lot of fluidity. But after the sending off of Caicedo, obviously we wanted to settle the game. We didn't manage to do that. We had more yellow cards. We had 4 yellow cards. Obviously those players were constantly targeted to try to even the game in terms of numbers, and at halftime we said, okay, let's pause it now, let's now get what we have to do, very clear what the intention and how we're going to dominate the game. In the first action, long ball gives a free kick, wide free kick, corner, consider set piece. So then the momentum shifts, and emotionally the team have to react to that. We managed to get some good spells.
Okay, so that's what Arteta had to say, suggesting how an intense game it turned out to be in this one. I know we've already focused quite a lot on Chelsea, but for Arsenal, I know you said it there earlier on, Darren, about this is a positive in the sense it's a point at a rival. But do you think there'll be any element of them thinking, oh, there was 10 men that we played against for 45 minutes?
You as a player, you always do that after. You think, oh, we were against 10, we should have won.
Because they did look, a few of them coming off the pitch, disappointed.
Yeah, but when you go a goal down, of which you can, of a set play, the crowd are then up, and the 10 men galvanise because you've got something to fight for. I've been on both sides, and it's funny as the 10, you feel like you're not beating us, you know. Everyone's game, just goes to another level, and Chelsea deserve great credit for that. But Arsenal kept persevering. I think, as I said, when they cold light a day and they sit down and have a meeting, they'll look at it and think, damn good week, you know, and we're still playing all right. We've got players to come back. It was funny, actually. I don't know if you noticed watching the game, and there's so much to like about the game. He's right, the intensity was amazing. 2 sets of players who are just so focused on stopping the other team win. Like the desire and the work ethic was great to see. But I don't remember watching a game where I'd heard so many loud screams of players through the camera.
Thank you.
Going over and trying to stitch other people up.
Honestly, it was not since COVID.
It was really starting to wind me up.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it happened on occasion when I played. It wasn't that long ago, but very rare. Players would go down and exaggerate because they want you to get yellow or red. But that game, it was both teams were on a mission to stitch the other players 100%. Up. So I know because one had had one sent off and they want to even it up. I get that. But, you know, you've got family watching at home. You've got kids. That's embarrassing.
It's almost like this, from the sublime to the ridiculous, because, you know, so many people noticed it. You've got ex-professionals noticing it. You get laymen, journalists, fans, everyone was noticing it.
Have they good?
Yeah, absolutely. And I even noticed it when I was playing. I mean, there were 1 or 2 that were genuine. The Chalobah, you could see the big bump on his face. Yeah. Clearly, he'd taken a whack.
Yeah.
But even that, I've had whacks and I've had my cheekbone on display through an elbow, but I didn't scream like that.
You're odd, aren't you?
The scream is to get attention. Like if you hurt yourself at home, you don't scream.
No.
I remember cutting my finger open on a can of tuna because it wasn't the peel back, you know. And I had to do it with a knife and all. Anyway, ended up chopping a load of big thing on my finger. And I looked around ready to go, there's just no one there. So you don't, because
Have you heard of a can opener? Rather than a knife?
Yeah, I did. I couldn't find it. But anyway.
There's a fantastic YouTube series in waiting here. Danny opens tin.
The point being is, screaming out as loud as they did, no, it's all put on.
Yeah. But isn't that? I mean, okay, you said this particular game it was maybe more prevalent, but it happens all the time.
But we don't hear it, and I think Danny's right.
But nothing
This was-
Yes, exactly, more prevalent. Isn't it?
Yeah, and it was a feature of a really fantastic football match that on the one hand you were really impressed by the intensity, and on the other hand you were thinking, what are you doing?
It was the only negative, to be fair. Maybe we shouldn't even point it out, but it's...
No, I think you're right to point out, because I was thinking it in real time, and there were lots of people who were thinking exactly
They were all
the same.
guilty of it,
Yeah, they were both sides.
Well, in terms of disciplinary issues, obviously a lot of cards given out in this one red. Was that a red for you? Because there's still some debate over it. Yeah, both in agreement?
Yeah, just about. I thought it was... Because it was... There's... In the rules and the wording... Well, we won't go through it, it's boring, but... The speed is relevant, but the height of where you hit someone. And it was kind of on that borderline. Whereas if he'd have got him on the foot, he wouldn't have been sent off. But as it gets a bit higher and a bit higher, your chances are nil of staying on.
Yeah.
And of course, his ankle buckled a little bit as well. So in the end, it was the right decision. And it was a surprising one, really, because obviously he's a tackler and he's a very good one. But it wasn't really a necessary one. It wasn't to stop a shot or to stop him getting out. Or,
Right.
It wasn't really to... I think Chalobah was 5 yards behind him anyway. It was like he'd lost his head for a little minute, which can happen. He's still a young guy, but...
I saw someone saying that maybe he'd got a bit too carried away with this talk of comparing him to Declan Rice, and he had something to prove.
Maybe, but I that comparison's silly anyway, because they're playing different roles right now.
Well, exactly.
I think it was probably more just so fired up to play well and do well in such a big game. And
But you've been a midfielder charging around in midfield. I mean, there would have been games where the high intensity games where you thought your blood's pumping a little bit too much, and you've put your foot in where you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
If you're watching at home or if you're listening on the radio, Danny's nodding here.
He's got a big smile on his face.
Only because
about it as well.
I actually kept my discipline quite well as a footballer in terms of my cards. I did get a red against United at Anfield once, though.
There you go.
Can you remember what happened? Well, I'm sure you can.
Well, it was Jamie Carragher's fault.
How can you blame someone else?
Because I was on a yell and I'd forgot. And
Jamie Carragher's fault.
I think the ball got loose through. It was like a 60-40 Dennis Irwin. It was in favour of him. And Carragher was behind me going, go on, get out, go on, whatever he was shouting, hit him, whatever.
So you've been there?
Yeah. But that I learned from that one, and he will learn from that. I never got near to getting sent off again in a big game like that.
But of course, that's their sixth red card this season.
I don't mind that, Nat. I don't mind that. No. Listen.
But surely Maresca needs to have everyone available, not always thinking.
Of course he does. Of course he does. But they're learning as a team. I think he can address some of that lack of leadership in this transfer window, bring a couple of experienced older heads.
That's not what they're going to do.
They won't, because they're business model FC at the moment. But if they're going to do that, then they are accepting that that's going to happen more and more. Some of those red cards are things like Maresca being booked for running down the touchline for challenge.
Not all of them have been ill-disciplined.
Come on.
So I think you have to take that in consideration. I don't think it'll be an ongoing problem for Chelsea. I don't believe that narrative.
But what do you make of the job then that Maresca is doing? When you consider this is only his second season as a Premier League manager as well. Last season there were still some Chelsea fans that weren't having him. Do you think we're now starting to see the proper fruits of his labour and that he's actually he is a good coach?
I like watching Chelsea play, and that's down to him. There's been games where they have struggled to break teams down, low block, and lesser teams, if you like. Chelsea fans will tell you that, but generally they go after teams and try and win, and they've got dynamic wingers, which he really encourages. I've heard him talk about how he wants his wingers to beat people and go past people, and he really is adamant on that. There is a little bit of discussion around the overplaying at times, but it's difficult to install a way of playing it on a group of players, especially when they're a young group as well, in a short space of time, and then start tweaking it and going, actually, today we're not going to do that. So I understand why he's really adamant on this is how we're going to play and this is what we're going to do. And actually, the goalkeeper's improved a lot with his distribution, and he's turning people around.
He's not making as many mistakes.
No,
either.
But they play good stuff. And generally, when you watch Chelsea play, they're a good watch. They've got loads of dynamism in the side. I like the fact that he He lets Cucurella go and have a wander into midfield and get forward. And I quite like the thing he's done with James and Gusto as well at times. James in the middle and Gusto at right back. And he's done that the other way as well. So he's not, although the formation's generally predictable, you're never quite sure who's going to play where. No. Like the Neto thing, he stuck Neto up top against Barca rather than wide. And he had 2 strikers on the bench, João Pedro and Delat. And everyone was like, what's he doing playing? But with the pace and it worked. You know, it was. He's not scared to make big decisions. I think he's done as well as he could have in the time he's had.
I actually think his weakest area is central defence. As you were talking, I was just going through the whole team. Extremely strong in that defensive midfield position. While obviously both of them got that ability to go forward. The front 3, very, very strong. I think Esteval obviously is big hope for Brazil, as well as a seriously top European talent.
Well, he lost Colwell.
Colwell he loves, but I think all of their centre backs, they're all good players without being great players, without being the leader. And every team that wins a league has a leader at the back. Ruben Diaz, Virgil van Dijk, John Terry.
Yeah.
Every team that wins a league has a leader, a colossus at the back. And I'm not sure who is that person for Chelsea. But all the other areas, like I said at the start of the show, this was the first time I looked at Chelsea and thought, there's a side potentially that could win the league. But there is that missing link. The goalkeeper's improved. The front 3 is really good. The wide areas, they're really good. They've got the understanding. He will tell you better than me. Football's about partnerships, and there isn't yet that partnership in central defence that you can turn around and say that's going to win them the league.
Just quickly, because we got to hit a break. This time last year, Chelsea had got off to a really good start. It was only that Christmas period where they fell away. And it was only at the end of the season that they secured 4th spot. Are we seeing Chelsea this year as title contenders?
There's
last
a big
year,
difference.
Maresca,
Big difference.
Just to quickly say that, Maresca last year kept saying we're not in the title
That's
race.
a difference.
Yeah, so are we seeing a difference?
That's a difference.
So they are.
Because he's leaning into it this time around. Right. And he's learned from that. And this is what I'm saying about Chelsea coming of age. 12 months ago, he was new to the Premier League. He'd done well with Leicester, but he was new. I know we say it's only his second season, but he's learned his driving test and he's driving a Porsche. He's passed his driving test and he's driving a Porsche. So he's got the quality there. And last season, I just wonder if the season could have been slightly different if he'd have learnt into that. This time he's doing that, and those players now feel as though they're involved in something, and you could see that with the intensity of the game on Sunday.
All right. Well, I might ask you after the break about that, Danny. But we're also going to bring you our Ladisfaction moments of the weekend as well. Here on Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes, it's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.